Okay, you mentioned Tyree Wilson could be the choice of the Texans, not Will Anderson, and Jalen Carter, who appeared on Real Sports talking about his situation earlier this week. It might be Tyree Wilson. I got him calling in 29 minutes from now, Bucky. Why could he be maybe the first defensive player off the board? Suss out that for me from your evaluating perspective, please.
Okay, so the interesting thing when you do the Tyree Wilson versus Will Anderson debate, everything should lead you to believe that Will Anderson will be the pick. When you look at sack production, which translates to the National Football League, Will Anderson has 34 and a half sacks compared to Tyree Wilson, 17 sacks over the course of their career. Will Anderson has 62 tackles for loss, has been a disruptive player, playing for arguably the greatest coach that we've seen in the college game, and so he's well schooled when it comes to that. But what happens in meetings when you talk enough and you're looking at the same names, sometimes there's this thing where you talk about upside and potential that kind of lures you to believe that Tyree Wilson has a longer wingspan. Tyree Wilson has what appears to be made more juice, first step quickness. Maybe, just maybe, if we take him where he is, add a little coaching, maybe he can be a more dominant player than Will Anderson. That could certainly be in play in Houston, where I won't call them maybe overthinking the situation, but maybe they feel so confident in their coach that they feel like they can get more out of Tyree Wilson than they can from Will Anderson.
What's your evaluation of Jalen Carter as we sit here 8 days before the draft, Bucky?
Okay, Jalen Carter is really interesting. If you ask anybody, he is the most talented defender in the draft. His talent popped last year when they had that dominant defensive line with Jordan Davis, and then you think about the front where they had Nakobe Dean. He's the one that you couldn't take your eyes off of. However, what happens, Rich, when we talk about like a top 5 pick, we now begin to kind of dig a little deeper. So now you have the incident in January, which is, look, it's tragic in itself, and he certainly has to deal with that. And so you wonder how much that's going to continue to affect him. But then you begin to think about, hey, does he play hard all the time? He might be the most talented, but how often are we going to see that talent play at max potential? Then you dig deeper and try and figure out, is the football character what we want from a work ethic, show up, first one in, last one out perspective? Is he going to do all those things? And so when you have kind of all this cloud, this great stuff around you, it can make you talk yourself out of Jalen Carter despite the talent. And then when he cut off the visit, saying I'm not going to visit anybody outside the top 10, what he did is he kind of took that insurance net, that safety net away from him because he hasn't talked to everybody. If you have real questions about Jalen Carter and you haven't sat down and visited with him and looked him in his eye and become more comfortable with the person, he could slide, and he could slide because you're just not comfortable with taking him based on some of the baggage that might come with him.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.